In a world where so many people try to pull us in different directions, we often sense that some individuals are pushing hidden plans or trying to control our emotions. Robert Greene's work suggests that, to protect ourselves, we must learn how to see through false appearances and guard our minds against subtle forms of manipulation. The first step is to recognize that manipulation can appear in friendly smiles, polite words, or promises that seem too good to be true. It does not always come from enemies. Sometimes it can show up in people who want to gain power or advantage at our expense. Greene's perspective reminds us that power is always a factor in social situations. No matter where we stand in life, someone else might be trying to sway our thoughts or shape our actions. Greene's lesson is not to become a cold, unfeeling person, but to open our eyes to the hidden motives that may lurk behind charming faces or flattering remarks. He suggests that if we let ourselves remain naive, we risk becoming a pawn in someone else's game. When we do not see what is happening, we can be exploited. The solution is not to respond with anger or paranoia, but to become more aware. We need a healthy dose of skepticism and a willingness to observe people more closely. This involves paying attention to the gap between what people say and what they do. When we see contradictions, we should not ignore them. Instead, we note them in our minds and see if there is a pattern. Patterns often reveal a person's true character. When people repeat certain behaviors, we can learn how they operate and how they might try to influence us. One of Greene's key ideas is that we must develop emotional mastery. Emotional mastery does not mean we should suppress our feelings. Instead, it means we learn to stay calm when someone tries to provoke us or flatter us into making impulsive choices. Manipulators know that when we are emotionally charged, we are easier to direct. If someone makes us very excited, angry, or desperate, we might stop thinking clearly and do things we later regret. Greene advises us to slow down in these moments and question why a person might be stirring up these strong feelings in us. Are they trying to lead us down a path that benefits them? Are they covering up something they do not want us to see? By pausing and reflecting, we gain the upper hand. We remove the emotional fog and respond from a place of calm reasoning. To protect ourselves, we can also learn to read body language and tone of voice. People who want to control us might give little clues that betray their real motives. A person might say pleasant words, but their facial expressions reveal something else. Greene suggests that we sharpen our sensitivity to these small signals. We do not accuse people outright of lying. Instead, we watch and collect evidence. Over time, we see if their tone of voice changes around certain topics or if they look away when they speak about important matters. This helps us build a clearer picture of what is really going on. By combining careful observation with our own intuition, we can sense when someone's story does not add up. That is our cue to take a step back and protect our interests. Building this shield also requires a sense of self-acknowledge. Sometimes manipulators succeed because they target our personal weaknesses. They may praise our talents, looks, or achievements to make us drop our guard, or they may hint at our fears and insecurities to push us into submission. Greene warns us that if we remain blind to our own desires and faults, we make it easier for people to steer us in the wrong direction. We can counter this by honestly asking ourselves what we want, what we are afraid of, and where we might be easily fooled. If we know that we love compliments, we can be more cautious when someone starts showering us with praise. If we see that we fear rejection, we can take a moment to calm that fear before agreeing to someone's proposal just to feel accepted. By staying aware of our own triggers, we deny manipulators a simple path into our mind. Greene also advises that we develop a habit of long-term thinking. Manipulators often rely on short-term temptations. They present a bright and shiny offer or dangle a shortcut to success. They want us to jump at it without second thought. When we train ourselves to look at the bigger picture, we become less vulnerable to these schemes. We can ask, will this decision help me in the long run, or is it just a quick fix that leads to bigger problems? Even if the payoff looks tempting now, it might create more trouble later. By thinking ahead, we see that a short-lived advantage may not be worth the hidden costs. This awareness allows us to make choices that respect our own values and keep us on the right path. In Greene's view, another way to shield ourselves is to cultivate genuine relationships based on trust and mutual respect. While a manipulator might pretend to be our friend, the bond is only real as long as it serves their agenda. However, we can build solid ties with people who share our goals and who stand by us because they believe in who we are, not just what we can do for them. This takes time and effort. We must learn to show respect and honesty in our dealings. The more we surround ourselves with people we trust, the less space there is for manipulators to sneak in. Of course, we cannot avoid all manipulation, but a strong network of honest allies can warn us if they see suspicious behavior directed our way. They can also offer support when we need another point of view. A vital lesson is that we should study those who manage to resist manipulation and keep a cool head in stressful times. Greene points out that success leaves clues. When we watch people who navigate tricky social circles without falling into traps, we can pick up on their habits. Maybe they ask calm questions when faced with a tense situation. They do not get swept away by gossip or flattery. They show patience, letting others reveal their intentions before making a move. We can learn from such examples and try to apply those methods in our own life. This does not mean we must copy them exactly, but we can adapt their practices to fit our own style. Over time, we become more grounded, more steady, and less easily manipulated. Self-reliance is another principle that can serve as a shield. Manipulators often look for those who constantly seek external approval or guidance. If we depend heavily on others to feel secure, we might do anything to keep their favor. Greene suggests building a strong inner confidence. That means we remind ourselves that our worth does not come from another person's praise. Our sense of direction in life should come from our own goals and principles. When we rely on our inner compass, we become less vulnerable to someone else's attempts to lead us astray. This does not mean rejecting all advice or feedback, but it does mean filtering what we hear through our own sense of judgment. Keeping our guard up does not mean being closed off to everyone. Greene's approach is about smart awareness rather than constant suspicion. It is about looking for facts, observing actions, and matching them to words. If we see honesty and consistency, we can relax around that person. If we see that someone switches stories or tries to play with our emotions, we become more cautious. Over time, this practice becomes second nature. We will sense the subtle signals that someone is testing our defenses. We might notice the shift in their tone, the way they try to make us feel special or worried. Instead of blindly accepting it, we stay calm and observe. Another important part of Greene's solution is to keep learning about human nature. He believes that by understanding the common drives and flaws we all have, we see manipulation more clearly. We notice how people's egos can be fed by flattery, how pride can lead them to make reckless moves, or how fear can cause them to act dishonestly. This kind of knowledge helps us spot those who try to tap into our own ego or fear to gain control. The more we learn about psychology and social behavior, the more obvious these maneuvers become. We can step back and say, I see what you are doing, I know this trick, I will not fall for it. But no shield is perfect. If we let ourselves grow lazy or overconfident, Greene would warn that we should keep our skills sharp. Even if we have learned many lessons, there may come a time when someone's manipulation is very subtle or dressed in a new form. The moment we think we are immune, we risk letting our guard down. That is why consistent self-reflection is key. We continue to ask ourselves, are we reading situations carefully? Are we letting someone charm us too easily? Are we ignoring red flags because we want something to be true? By checking in with ourselves, we keep our defenses strong. One of the final pieces of Greene's message is that awareness is not about negativity or living in fear. It is a tool that allows us to connect in healthier ways. When we know our weaknesses and the signals of manipulation, we can keep our interactions honest. We can spot toxic tactics and step away before they do lasting harm. We also reduce the risk of becoming manipulative ourselves because we see how that path leads to distrust and shallow connections. Instead, we use our knowledge to form real bonds built on respect and understanding. We can remain open to people while also maintaining a clear sense of who we are and what we will accept. This might sound like a lot of work, but Greene's ideas tell us it is worth it. The social world can be complex, and many people have hidden agendas. But by studying human nature, managing our emotions, practicing self-awareness, and taking a long-term view, we create our own shield. We become the kind of person who sees through false promises and does not run toward every shiny shortcut. We learn to ask the right questions and stand firm on our core values. We also learn to keep our eyes open for those who might lead us astray. Over time, we find that we can handle challenging personalities with calm strength. We recognize that the best strategy is to understand the game, yet never forget who we truly are. This shield does not make us perfect. It simply reminds us that even in a world full of people trying to bend our will, we can hold on to our sense of self. We can create boundaries that protect our mental well-being. We can choose our influences wisely and spot manipulative tricks from a distance. That is Robert Greene's solution, a mix of deeper knowledge, emotional control, and ethical awareness. It is not about becoming cynical, it is about becoming smart and alert. The more we practice these skills, the less vulnerable we are to being pushed around or falling for illusions. That is how we stay true to ourselves in a world where so many forces try to steer us. And in doing so, we create space to grow into our best possible selves, free from the chains of other people's hidden agendas.